Hi, I'm Kirsty and I'm your hormone health coach, and I'm trained in functional medicine. So that means I can help you understand your hormonal symptoms and really understand the root cause so you can heal, so you can have more consistent energy, better mood, less brain fog, and all of that good stuff. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to identify if your hormones are imbalanced. And today we're specifically going to look at the symptoms that you would be experiencing around ovulation and your period, and using that as an indicator to say, okay, is something off balance? And we're going to answer that question. Is what I'm experiencing normal? Because it's what I get asked a lot. Is X normal? Is this normal? So we are going to cover that. So by the end of this video, you're going to walk away with knowing if what you're experiencing is normal and what a healthy, happy cycle should look and feel like. So in another video, I'm going to cover what hormonal imbalances look like when it comes to specific hormones. But looking at it from a space of what's my period, what's ovulation symptoms telling me, this is a really great place for us to start. And like I said, you are going to walk away with clarity if you have ever asked yourself, are my symptoms normal? So beneath this video, I'm also going to add 5 quick steps to help you bring your hormones back into balance. So they're things that you can start doing from today, really empowering steps. So be sure to check that out. And there's also a free download to go with it as well. So just ignore the happen. That's my dog in the background. He's looking at the window. So hopefully he'll stop in a minute. So if you like this video, obviously, if you're viewing it on YouTube, please, like it, do all that good stuff on YouTube. If you like this blog content on my website, feel free to share it with others and connect with me on socials if we're not already connected. So I've got a couple of visuals that I want to take you through. So I'm just going to go ahead and share something with you, and we're going to talk through it together. So let's get into it. So as you can see here, this is just a little bit of a graphic around showing you what our hormones do in a typical 28-day cycle. And the reason that 28 days is quoted so often is because it is just a nice round number that we can deal with. And this is where the misconception that everybody ovulates on day 14 comes from. And we are going to talk about that a little bit here as well. So first of all, what is a normal cycle? So conventionally, that's what we say is between 21 to 35 days. So if you're within this range, you have a normal cycle from a conventional medicine perspective. And we can see here the ebb and flow of the 5 key sex hormones that dictate what's going on with our menstrual cycle. But if you're like, oh, well, I don't have this 28-day cycle, I'm like 34 or I'm 22, what happens with your menstrual cycle month to month and through our lifestyle, through our life, will actually change as well. So we may have grown up with a 28-day cycle, and then as we age, it changes, and that's okay. It's about understanding what's unique and what's normal to you. So that's the first thing I'm going to encourage you to start thinking about, is keeping really good track of what is your normal. So, your cycle, how it lasts, like I've said, is unique to you. And that means that when you ovulate, and ovulation is so super important to know about, when you ovulate is also unique to you. So don't buy into this myth that you have to, or you are going to ovulate on day 14, because this is where we get into trouble. So stop. When we know where we are with our menstrual cycle, it kind of stops us second guessing ourselves. So understanding and tracking your period, but also ovulation, is a very empowering health tool. And if you're not doing it regularly, I encourage you first and foremost to do that 100%. So if you look here, what I'm saying is the optimum. So the functional range. So functional medicine focuses on what is going to be helping you to thrive at the highest level. So ideally, we want a range, a cycle length that varies from 25 to 35 days. And that's really because we want the second half of your cycle, we want the first half of your cycle to be an adequate length for fertility, whether you are trying to conceive or not, okay? So your period comes regularly and it follows a healthy ovulation. It will always follow ovulation. We don't have an actual bleed without ovulation. You have your period from the day of your actual bleed, not the day of spotting. And the first phase of this cycle, so from day one, this is your follicular phase, and the duration here can vary from person to person quite considerably. And this is what will vary over the course of our lifetime as our hormones ebb and they flow in different phases of life. And the second phase is the luteal phase. And in a healthy cycle, this will be much more predictable, okay? And this is due to the fact that the corteus luteum, the follicle that held the egg that ovulated, that is trying to get pregnant every cycle, whether we want to or not, this has a finite lifespan of 12 to 16 days. So if it's not fertilized within your ovulatory window, whenever it is that you've ovulated, your period will arrive 13 to 16 days later. So I really want you to walk away today knowing that when you ovulate dictates when you will bleed. Okay, and this is why this second phase should be, in a healthy cycle, much more predictable. So, and we are dispelling the myth that you will ovulate on day 14. When you ovulate can vary from month to month. So we really want to be tracking ovulation as well as our period. So we have healthy ovulation, which produces lots of great hormones like progesterone, our progestation hormone. And this is an indicator of the health of our ovulation, okay, that we are ovulating regularly. And we have cervical fluid, okay, so we notice changes in our cervical fluid from like our period. When our period ends, things start to get a little bit dry, and then as we become closer to ovulation, things start to get wetter, stickier, and sticky and stretchy is really fertile ovulation fluid, okay? And we also notice an increase in our basal body temperature, okay? And knowing these symptoms, knowing that we're having a healthy ovulation is the first place that we should be looking when it comes to knowing, are my hormones balanced? Ovulation is going to give us a key signal with that. So if you are experiencing changes with your cycle, you need to look at ovulation. Don't just say my period was late. What's wrong with my period? If your period was late, if your period was early, if the blood was different, if anything is different, we've got to look at ovulation. And when I say look at the ovulation, we also want to be thinking about what was happening in my lifestyle that may have impacted this experience of this period 100 days ago, so 3 months ago, because the egg that was selected this month for your cycle this month was recruited 100 days ago. That's how long it is taken for the follicles and everything to get ready to this ovulation. So key to remember, something changes this month, don't just look at this past month, you need to look further. So ovulating regularly is really important. That's the first indicator of our menstrual health, but also your overall health and well-being. Because when we ovulate, all of those amazing hormones, they help cognitive support, bone health, mood, skin, and so much more. So we are very cyclical beings, and we're always kind of in this cycle, whether we realize it or not. Okay, so just be aware that we are always in a cycle. So it's not just the period has ended, I'm no longer in a cycle. The hormones are always ebbing and flowing. This graph will only be applicable if you're not taking hormonal birth control, okay? If that is of interest to you, I will do some additional content on that. So let's talk about what is normal. What's normal period symptoms, so we can have an indication of, okay, my hormones are balanced. This is kind of what I'm experiencing. So it is normal around and on your period to feel more lethargic. We want to sleep more naps, more rest days, maybe not wanting to go to the gym or exercise. that is okay, because all of your hormones, so all of your hormones that are giving you that get up and go, that they have really dropped. So it's normal to feel that way. So it's okay to slow down and feel a little bit introverted, maybe that lower mood. But what's not okay is that if this is really affecting our relationships, where we're not a nice person to be around. More introverted, yes, but really like severe mood swings, absolutely not. So minimal pain and aches. So this really does depend on your pain threshold. We are all very different when it comes to pain, but it isn't anything that requires painkillers or something that literally stops you in your tracks, okay? And we want minimal water retention, not much bloating. So ideally kind of none. So that's what we're looking for when we look at normal. That's going to give us an indication of our overall health. And then period symptoms that we really should stop accepting as normal. And I'm sure if you've suffered with any of these and have gone to your doctor, if you've had a response like some of my clients, it's like, well, yeah, it's normal. This is just part of being a woman. But this is actually not. And I really want to empower you to know that this is not, but there are things that you can do in your lifestyle to help with that. So if your period arrives within 21 or actually within 25 days, that's not ideal, and that's something we would like to shift. One, because who wants to be always having a period every 3 weeks? We want to extend that first phase of your cycle. And then equally, if your period arrives greater than 37 days, that's an indication that something's out of alignment. It could be something like PCOS or something like that, hypothalamic amenorrhea. So that's the kind of things, that's sort of indicating that the body's under some sort of stress. If you don't have any periods for months, if you bleed for more than 7 days, equally, and this was my own personal experience as somebody that had a thyroid condition, I'd have really light, scantly periods, like we're barely there for 2 days, if that. If blood isn't really vibrant red for the first few days and it's all brown, if there's heavy bleeding, multiple changes of your products, clots, if there is that debilitating pain, which we covered, and any pain that radiates outside of that kind of tummy area, so like down the back, the lower legs, that is an indication that something's out of balance. And that is one that I would actually say really go and talk to your doctor about when that pain sort of radiates. If we're having gut issues, so if there's diarrhea, really intense period poops, that's an indicator that there is an imbalance. Uncomfortable bloating and water retention, feeling like really wiped out and completely drained, and like having to take complete days off in bed, not being able to like do your normal day-to-day things. That's not normal. Like I've said, severe mood, if our skin becomes really angry, whether that is like acne or if we get really big flares up of eczema or other kind of skin conditions, and headaches and migraines that kind of really stop us in our tracks. So these really are indicators that something is out of balance and that we need to kind of take a look and do something about it. And I would love for you just to kind of think, like, how many of these have you accepted as normal for far too long? And let's be honest, it is not your fault, because the doctor will tell you, don't worry, it's part of being a woman, part of being somebody who experiences a period. And your friends might be sharing similar experience. But I want to remind you that just because something is common, it doesn't mean that it's normal. So I'm going to stop sharing that here. So I hope that gives you a bit of an understanding as to how our period and ovulation basically gives us the signals to help us understand are things out of alignment. So underneath, I'm going to share some of my favorite strategies with you that you can do today, this week. And those things are super easy to weave into your lifestyle that are going to help you have more balanced hormones. So join me in the next blog and I will be covering so much more information, great stuff just like this. I will speak to you again soon.